We got another one that's going to leave you shocked and stunned. Let's dive in.
What if ancient tech was more advanced than ours? Near Lake Titicaca, a basalt artifact looks melted, folded like glass, yet no tool marks at all. It shows heat.
Are you kidding me? Look at that. This one. Folded like a Bible.
Yet no tool marks at all. It shows heat over 1,200 degrees Celsius. Impossible for ancient methods. So what did they really know?
Definitely some type of ancient technology that looked like it was heat. Definitely some type of erased history, ancient technology that they're not telling us about.
So this is cool. This is a 120-year-old bulb. That's the color spectrum. So this is a 250-watt bulb from 1902. Interesting. So this is a 1902 argon gas bulb. And pretty cool with that gas. Look at that purple.
That is pretty cool.
And then look at that color spectrum. High in UV and infrared. I also forgot to mention you can just touch the bulb. There's no heat, it's cold. And then this is called the Aerolux bulb, which is neon. Look at that orange. And then there's the color spectrum. Pretty fascinating. Also with neon, you can just touch it. Nothing happens. And then I got one more neon bulb to show you, a little tiny one. Similar color spectrum. But look at this, it's like a little fire. And it's funny because you can just touch it.
I'm still thinking about that video yesterday on Dark Waters 9 where they're putting extra power inside the new LED bulbs, siphoning the electric bill up.
Everything you believe. Carl Jung's final message about empaths will shatter everything you believe about your compassion. The empath, Jung discovered, is just the child who was never allowed to be selfish. That overwhelming need to fix everyone, to absorb their pain, to disappear yourself for others. That's not spiritual gift. That's survival programming from a childhood where your needs were too much, your feelings too loud, your very existence conditional on serving others.
The shiniest living thing on Earth is the Pollia condensata, an African fruit. The berries of Pollia condensata are...
Look, it looks like a little blueberry galaxy.
Metallic blue, brighter than any other known material.
I wonder how they taste. Whenever I see deep sea creatures like this, it makes me think, what if these were the abomination? Because look at how crazy it is. All right, that's crazy for real. But this one, I believe this is the anglerfish that was on Nemo. But if you think about the abominations back in the Old Testament, how could they get washed away by the flood if they're already in the water?
The tiny species Mycena subcyanocephala is only about 1 millimeter tall, smaller than a grain of rice. This delicate blue-headed snake mushroom is extremely rare and has been documented only 8 times, making it a fascinating hidden treasure of the forest floor.
Incredible. I wonder what power it would give you if you got it on Mario. If you thought you weren't going to get another excellent specimen today, think again. All right, what do we have here? A stunning special azurite. Intriguing. Large grained, by the way. Ooh, she turned the light on for us. Okay, you can really see the colors in that thing. Look at, it's like a marble texture. The longer you look at it, the better it looks, right? I would have to call this, I'm going to give this a 9.0, and I'm going to call this Dragon's Tail. What would you call this? Give it a rating and a name. Drop it in the comments below. Let's keep up on this deep dive. Calculating barometric pressure. Deep dive course activated. His videos are so entertaining. He's got so many of them. He's got like hundreds of them. Let's see what he's talking about these aliens in Area 51 and UFOs.
When is the
He be stressed, man. He be going through it, fumbling through the paperwork, man. These Anunnaki, the planet shifting. Oh my goodness.
Collapse, the dimensional collapse starting. Is it already starting?
It's already started.
With the sound and the color?
Okay. It's already started. Thank you for leading me here. What you're going to start hearing about in the very near future are something called rods. And they will be something that will be videotaped.
Can you hear it? Turn it up. How come you ain't have it turned up?
And what you will see are large streaks just shooting through the air that are etheric, but are being able to be captured on tape. And what you're seeing is literally fourth and fifth dimensional craft moving through space, not having the slightest clue that they're flying right through us.
So he must be talking about Archangels now.
Okay? And that's because you're beginning to see the implosion. It's great stuff.
And ghosts?
Yes, you will see more ghosts, more apparitions, because those that are stuck between third and fourth density will start being more and more visible as our frequency starts to raise and rise.
Breaking the veil.
A lot of them, unless they are healed, and I do not know how to do that, how to set them free from their self-imposed prisons, will be exiting, transitioning. Angels, folks, be very careful about somebody who tells you they're an angel. For example, I've asked about the Archangels. And the Andromedan perspective of that is that the Archangel Michael was literally a fleet of craft that were called Michael.
Oh, hell no.
That was the name of the fleet. And they used to patrol the northern hemisphere of the planet when Orion was here in full force. Gabriel was the name of another fleet of craft, and so on and so forth.
If that was the case, how come we don't see murals or cathedrals of these UFO ships? You know what I'm saying? We would see some type of UFO hieroglyphic if that was the case. They would be like, oh, here comes that ship. You know what I'm saying? But we only hear about it on Enoch when it's the wheels within wheels.
It has been changed and created into something that will save you and rescue you, when in fact, that was not the original intent at all. Okay.
We working that damn mullet.
What's going to happen in the next 10 years? I will share this with you. There are definitely some things underneath the Sphinx, but the bulk of the real stuff that will tell us about our ancient history is still underneath the pyramid. And there was a vault built 3 levels deep, and the pyramid was built over it.
I heard that about the Sphinx. There's some type of Hall of Records or something like that under the Sphinx. I did hear that. You know, you got to eat the meat and spit out the bones. You know, everybody be talking crazy every day. You know, you just got to keep your head on a straight swivel. That's what I do.
Okay, that's where the real juice is. That's where the real knowledge is. The Sphinx will have some things, but it's a distraction. You know, these guys are real good at what they do, at diverting attention from reality, from truth. They're excellent at it. If they put that much energy into telling the truth, God, we'd all be out of here. You know?
And go where? Where are we going to go?
Okay, hold on one sec.
If you ask me, we going to the outer lands. We'll jump on them airships and go to the outer lands. That's what I'm talking about. You know? That's what I think is land
I don't
beyond
have it
the ice wall.
somewhere.
He's
Okay,
back.
things that are going to happen in the next 10 years. Number one, we're going to truly find out who we are genetically. Information will be coming from all corners of the earth from contactees. There will be more and more contacts, and they will tell us about the 22 different races and more of our history. There will also be massive earth changes.
22 races, you know? That's interesting. That's got me thinking what? Like the fallen angels genetically modified something and created 22 different beings or something? And don't even get me started about those dog men, those dog-headed men. And you got people with no head and a face on their chest. Oh yeah, those are deep dives for real.
They will start with a magnetic pole shift, which could happen anytime between now and the year 2001. Things have been sped up. We're already starting to see the magnetic poles shift as we see birds migrate in the wrong direction at the wrong times of year. The birds move along the Earth's magnetic grid lines. And I wanted to share something with you. I'm very fascinated with the Native Americans. And I love to collect feathers when I find them on my journeys and my vision quests. And I was given this on 3/19 of 94. And I just want to share this with you. It's primarily about the Native Americans and the original intent behind them wearing the feather. In the ancient way, your native red American races understood the nature of the birds. The birds are very sensitive to magnetic fields and microwave energy, as you call it.
That's interesting because I have a theory about dragons feel the same way. That's why we don't see no dragons no more. Unlike the UFOs, you know, which I think there may be something up there. We don't got no really too many depictions of UFOs and manuscripts and artifacts and whatnot. But dragons, that's everywhere. And what if they migrated just like birds because they don't like all these Wi-Fi signals and everything? That's another deep dive.
Earth energy grids, and their wings, which are made up primarily of feathers, were to be watched as they were very sensitive. To watch and follow the birds is to know which way the Earth's magnetic flows are moving. They would also, the Native American races, camp off these magnetic flows because the radiation would become harmful in time.
Hear people talk about ley lines, but that's interesting.
The feathers are very sensitive to energy fields and magnetic fields. They are, in fact, an antenna. The feather would attract telepathic communication with all the tribe. As the chief would think or quietly discuss plans, the rest of the tribe would in the ancient days receive the message with few or no words.
Have you ever tried sitting completely still without a single movement of the body, including the eyes? Do it sometime and you will see. You may do it for 5 minutes or 2 minutes. That's good enough.
Can I breathe?
Don't say, how am I to keep it for 10 minutes, for an hour? Don't. That's greed. To do it for 2 minutes is enough. And in that 2 minutes, the whole of this thing is revealed. If you know how to look. So the body must be still. Because then the flow of the blood to the head becomes more. Right? If you sit crouched, sloppy, then it's more difficult for the blood to go to the head. Which means the body has its own intelligence.
This man warned us in 1997 with 200% accuracy.
This is not prophecy, but prediction. If this was predicted 27 years ago, somebody knew something. Okay, here's the list. This is an abbreviated list. I could have made it much longer. You know I can. I didn't. Okay, you ready for the list? Fast mutating viral, genetically developed, DNA database tracking, DNA chips. Get this one. 1997, gene-based pharmaceuticals. Transmitting genetic instructions for a process. How about this one? You ready for it? Wait for it. Artificial intelligence to determine gene patterns. 27 years ago, who had heard about AI? Apparently they had. How about this one? Robots for doing genome sequencing. And then, this one blew me away. Using recombinant DNA for making spike proteins. 1997? It gets even worse. Smart homes. They have a whole chapter on smart homes / smart cities. This one will absolutely floor you. It did me. In 1997, and this is, you can do the word search and research yourself. They predicted, not 2025, but by 2020, that people would be working from home virtually. Come on. Devices causing widespread contamination. Nanotech devices. This stuff was never even heard of. Digital currency. And last but certainly not least, programs, I'm sorry, I got to chuckle, because if I don't, I'll cry. By organizations like the World Health Organization for a global has yet to emerge. First printing, February 1997. This is not prophecy, but prediction.
You all wanted me to talk about time maps, so let's do it.
One night I was called on the telephone and I was told to go to a certain address. I just got in the car and went there. And I'm going to tell you all something. I walked into what looked like a normal building, but when I got inside this building, I'd never seen like anything like that inside, because all along the top of the building on the upper rows, it seemed like invention after invention after invention after invention. And it went on and on and on. What was on that shelf were things like magnets that picked up gold coins, gasoline that was made from plants, green, which he called green gasoline, coils that I've never seen, almost like a Tesla coil, but much steeper angles, which were all resonant at a certain frequency. Paid very close attention to one thing. There was this chart, and it was basically laid out like this here. Had all these little lines like this on the chart, but it was huge. I started asking, what is this chart? He said, well, go over there and look. And so I went over there, and it showed where time started on our time scale. And then it went on and on and on, and it got up into somewhere in here. And 2001 was about here. Because I was in 84, I was back here somewhere. And there were little pictures underneath the chart. And I know that most people are going to find this hard to believe, but all along this chart it said who the presidents were, whether they were assassinated or not assassinated, what the year was going to bring as far as food for the world. And when I got up here, it said that the world was in a chaotic condition, basically, at 2000. And it showed war and war and war and war and more war. It also showed that it named the presidents by name. It showed Reagan. It showed Carter. It showed Reagan. It showed George Bush Sr. And after that it showed Clinton. It said the Clinton years. It's right in here somewhere. I was back here. How they knew even who the presidents were was a mystery to me. And when I asked him that question, he says, we know. We know who's going to be the president. And right around in here he said, it showed a little picture and it showed two little towels. And it showed them on fire. But it showed war. It showed war from here on all the way to the end. And it said that time had ended here for us. 2036 or 2034 or something. But it said it ended there, and it ended in disaster. There's nothing went on past that.
It's a spiritual war of good against evil, and I just hope that there's enough good in the world that we could rally together to defeat it, because if we don't, these monsters will destroy humanity.
$2036? Is he trying to predict the next reset? You know, everyone's screaming Satan's little season. Do you think it might be over then? Is there going to be another reset, or is nothing going to happen at all? Interesting.
If you act as if God is within you, your voice changes, your posture changes, you stop asking for permission to live with fire. And when you stop waiting, heaven stops waiting too. This is not a lesson. This is a summons. If you are hearing this now, it is because something in you is ready to rise. You have waited long enough. The silence you feel, the restlessness inside you, it is not confusion. It is a call, a divine order echoing from within, commanding you to stop living like you were forgotten. You were not made to shrink. You were not placed here to drift. You were sent, and the one who sent you does not apologize for power. The man who listens with reverence, who studies this again and again until it becomes his new law, he will not just change. He will become the living proof of purpose, sent with clarity, walking with power, and finishing what heaven began. Now listen. Because the moment you believe this truth, you will no longer walk as a man. You will walk as one who was sent. You have walked long enough pretending to be less than what you were sent to become. You have bowed long enough to fear. You have hesitated long enough in the shadow of doubt. But now the voice of purpose calls to you. And if you will obey what is about to be spoken, not just hear it, but obey it, you will never again be the man you were before this hour. If you act as if God is within you,
sounds, there is a certain sound that they cannot stand, that they panic and they run away from. And
well, like in this spoof science fiction comedy film, you know, Alien Invasions from Mars or whatever it is.
Oh, Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
You know,
well, there's a lot of truth in that movie.
They used yodeling country music as a means.
That's funny. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was I stayed in that apartment.
Just while we're on the movie, anything in that's just true that.
Well, I don't know that movie as well. I know They Live, and in the movie They Live, and in They Live, there is a sound, there is a frequency. I don't know if you remember it towards the end that Roddy Piper goes to, and it's a frequency that's being beamed out, which enables these aliens to look in human form. And when he breaks this frequency, then they're all seen. Yeah, I've noticed since we've changed to digital now, my senses have become extremely heightened, and even when I'm just listening to the TV, or even when you turn the volume down, I hear this sound frequency coming from the television that completely messes with my pineal gland.
Now this is important because another member of the base's back room, so to speak,
right.
The thing is that he had devised a device to encrypt records on CDs so that it wouldn't be able to be copied.
Right.
But it was a type of acoustic thing as opposed to some kind of digital trademark encryption.
Right.
And when he played this in the record executive of the board, a number of the board just freaked out because they were reptilian. So
completely freaked out, I'm sure,
yeah. So there's a particular sound
that they cannot stand, yes. Because it alters the holographic projection that they're keeping. And I think it's a misconception that they are actually shape-shifting. Some are, but it's a misconception. Yeah. What they're actually doing is altering your visual cortex to make you think you're seeing them that way.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And this is very important as well, you know, because you can that's the truth. They're not actually looking that way. They've just manipulated your mind to think that they are. Sounds there is.
I feel like that's why all those ancient bells was ringing, to distort that type of stuff and block it out, even when I'm quiet now. It's like a high-pitched beat, you know, like I don't think we're supposed to hear that. I think we're supposed to hear, you know, birds chirping and stuff. It's not like a high-pitched ringing in your ears. He owns the car now. Guys, that has to be fake. That thing is absolutely massive. It is giving me goosebumps. I don't know if you can see that, but that is giving me goosebumps, man. This looks like straight out of a movie, Arachnophobia, doesn't it? And this is the monster bird-eating spider. There's definitely a nest in there. This car, oh, I see it's on the right side. This must be in Australia. Because look, the steering wheel is on the right side. Thank goodness this ain't something in America, man. Y'all fighting some demons out there. This has to be Australia. Look how massive that thing is. If this was your vehicle, what would you do? Would you get the shop vac? I don't even think the shop vac would be able to suck this thing in, honestly. That thing is going to get caught at the end. You're just going to see his little legs out there dangling. Ugh. You need a Dillinger or something, man, to get him out of there.
The pyramid and the globe represent pure gold of New York, and this is 228 tons of pure gold. Right there. One big 228-ton block of gold. That's quite the feat. 228 tons. Every 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. So if that piece alone weighs 228,000 tons, think of how much gold that is. That's probably enough gold for probably all the gold in the world. And it's just sitting in one block. So then they started turning it into gold bars and turning it into currency and then started to make a price on it and then selling it back to the people. You see how it all connects when you start connecting the dots. Nothing is new. Nothing is new under the sun. It's all been there. It's just people have taken over these things. And they started reselling it back. Like here you go, the Salt Company. And this is the famous Salt Company of 1893 and how salt began. And what's interesting is when you go through these books and you start looking at all this stuff, you see that everything was like trying to teach the people. Almost like the people were out of place. And they came to this fair so that they could learn about the rest of the world, how to grow food, how to exist, how to, be in the country, what type of jobs there are. Almost like an education camp. That's almost kind of what these world fairs were. They were almost like education camps to teach people what they should be doing. Like, here's exhibits of electricity and how you should use electricity. And then you can buy it from this X, Y, and Z person. Then you have things with horses, you have things with cows, all the types of animals in which you should raise. If you want to be like a person who works with trains, if you want to work with hammers, if you want to work with pottery and agriculture. And this is quite the terracotta. I mean, look at that. I mean, I used to take a pottery class back in 8th grade. I think I took a pottery class, and we just made like bowls and cups, and I made a Garfield cup. It did not look anything like that, that's for sure. We didn't learn that in 8th grade. Those are just absolutely remarkable. But maybe it wasn't an advanced class. Maybe that's why I didn't learn all of those things. And then you see like all these other pictures, which here's now forging, which is interesting. They show like the wrenches. And they also show the canal. I mean, look at that.
Speaking of forging, look at this giant chimney looking thing. Like, how do you explain this stuff? Honestly, it's absolutely insane. That was in the California exhibit.
So it was like they were teaching or reteaching or educating the people on what they should be doing, you know, on the regular basis. And, you know, here's another one. Chicago 1893, Golden Door of Transportation. I've never seen that building before, that's for sure. And that's the thing, all these buildings, or all these castles, or all these monuments, because that's what they used to be, they all are no longer there. And then as they got rid of them, and got rid of all of the beauty that they created, somebody said there was palm trees on the page before. Palm trees in Chicago. And see, that's something that doesn't make sense too, because, you know, buildings like this don't make sense. This is the...
Oh my goodness. Look. It says a Viking ship. Look, they had an actual Viking ship. And it's actually sailing. You know, I used to have dreams when I was a kid about these structures that look just like this on the Sweden building. I used to have dreams about these type of buildings, and it just made me feel really good for some reason. Like it was a place I had to see, and I couldn't explain it. I couldn't explain it to anybody, but it was always this castle looking structures, and it just made me feel really good.
Turn the TV down. Get this stuff up off this floor. Fix your face. You hungry? Put some clothes on. They're gonna run to Popeyes real quick. And them shoes? The shoes you were showing me last week? Show me how to get on the internet so I can get them for you. You heard what I said? Fix your face if I give you a reason to look like that. Now get up, put your clothes on.
This really ain't funny. To be honest with you, it's not funny. Because some people grew up like that, or they actually living like this. It's kind of sad, man. My man just trying to read his book, got yanked up in the bathroom. Now he's trying to buy this business. Oh man.
You ever played cards before? Look innocent, don't it? I declare war, goldfish. But what if I tell you it's not as innocent as it looks, but there's a dark meaning behind it? The standard playing card deck that is used today is derived from the ancient tarot. A lot of people say the tarot cards, but it's called the tarot. The tarot began to take on occult association to be used for cartomancy, divination, or fortune telling. All those things is an abomination to the Most High Elohim in the Bible. Aleister Crowley, he was the second accomplished student of the tarot. In 1909, Crowley began publishing the Art of Secrets, including their teaching on the tarot. And it was done through an independent journal called the Equinox. Crowley worked with a woman. Her name was Frida Harris. She helped Aleister Crowley design the new tarot card deck. Only after a new edition of the Book of Thoth appeared in 1969, I believe that's the year that the Church of Satan was founded. But yeah, after the Book of Thoth appeared in 1969, did the Crowley deck begin to grow in popularity. If you look in the Dictionary of Mysticism, you would look up the word tarot, and it would say a deck of playing cards based on a system of occult symbols arranged in a pattern of 78 cards. The tarot consists of 78 cards and is basically a repackage of the Bridge Players Pack that people are playing with till this day. If you look at the top picture on the left, you'll see the first person holding a wand, the second person holding swords, the third person holding a pentacle, and the fourth is cups. All they did was repackaged it so you can accept it. The cups represent the heart, the swords represent the spades, the wands represent the clubs, and the pentacles represent the diamonds. These represent the four suits. The four suits represents the four occult elements: water, air, fire, and earth. Not only did these cards derive from the tarot cards, divination practices, but it's also blasphemy against Jesus. Like, the true meaning of these cards is blasphemy against Jesus. Like, the king card represents the enemy of God, the devil. The 10 spot represents the spirit of lawlessness and is in direct opposition to the 10 commandments of the Bible. Closely associated with the 10 spot is the club card. When cards were invented, the club was the weapon of the murderer. In those days, there were no revolvers or machine guns. The club card stands for murder. The jack card represents the lustful libertine who lives on the gains of the prostitutes. It represents the moral leaper. Now we to the queen. The queen represents the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus the Messiah. In the secrets of the cards, she is really called the mother of harlots. Now the Joker is the biggest shocker, because the Joker, guess who he represents? Jesus the Messiah. The Joker comes from the Fool card. See, the plan is to get you to diss your own Messiah without even knowing. That's why everything is in secret, so you can purposely diss your own belief without even knowing. The art of war. Now it makes sense why people pulled out the Jokers when they play I Declare War or anything like that, because the Joker was the highest ranked card and he'll beat anything. Jesus the Messiah is the highest and above all creation. Everything was made through him. And also, the secret of these cards also declare that the representation of Jesus, the Joker, is supposed to be an offspring of the lustful Jack, the letter J, and the queen of harlots. Just complete blasphemy, bro.
You know, people used to make fun of me. They're like, oh, you don't know how to play spades? No, you ain't really black? No, I don't know how to play spades. None of that stuff really interests me. Playing goldfish, maybe a little bit. I declare war? Yeah, we did that when we were kids, but nowadays, I have zero interest to play cards. Now I want to ask you, do you guys think that was a reach? Or are we just playing dominoes now? If you thought I didn't have another excellent specimen for you today, think again. You know, I really enjoy doing these specimens with you guys. Feast your eyes on this Aquamarine as like a blue firework protrudes, like a petrified blue firework protrudes out of this cookies and cream looking ice cream. Guys, let me hear your specimen names in the comments below. You guys come up with some great ones. We need to start going over the best ones, the best names, honestly, because you guys be dropping some fire. But if I had to name this one, I would call it Petrified Firework Inside Cookies and Cream. It's a long one, but hey, that's the best I got. Let me hear your guys' names in the comments below.
1972 untitled piece by Zdzisław Beksiński. This is a 1972 untitled piece by Zdzisław Beksiński. He painted what he saw in his nightmares, but he didn't find them grim at all. He thought his work was optimistic and even kind of funny. And he himself was kind, soft-spoken, and loved to laugh. But despite all that, his real life slowly started to look a lot like the paintings he made, which are perfect for this week's spooky series of haunted art.
Look at the, that's either a sword or an upside down cross. But judging how he's standing on it looks like skulls, I couldn't tell you.
Series of haunted art. Zdzisław Beksiński was born February 24th, 1929 in Poland. He studied architecture at Krakow Polytechnic and then went on to be a construction site supervisor, which he absolutely hated, so he started sculpting using leftover building material. After realizing how much he loved it, with no formal art training, he started painting as well. In 1964, he had his first big exhibition in Warsaw and every single painting sold. Overnight, he became one of Poland's leading contemporary artists. He described his work as photographing dreams, but those dreams looked like something between Silent Hill and Hellraiser. He refused to title or explain any of his pieces and said that the viewer should decide what it means. He hated silence while he worked, so he'd blast classical music and rock and even jazz. He said, "I have this need for music to smash and tear me apart." And that music allowed him to paint for 14 hours a day without any break, standing up the whole time. But despite all the loud horror on his canvas, he was actually quite shy. He barely even went to his own exhibits. He had OCD, he rarely traveled, and at one point he stayed inside for 2 years and wrote 40 short stories. But he then locked them away until after his death because he thought they weren't good enough. But in 1998, his life started to echo his art. His wife Sophia suddenly passed away, and a year later on Christmas Eve, his son took his own. Beksiński was the one who found the body. After that, he pinned an envelope to his wall that said, "In case I die." No one knows what was inside it, but it was like he could feel something closing in. On February 21st, 2005, Beksiński was murdered. He was 17 times by the teenage son of his longtime caretaker who had asked him for a loan. He was 75 years old. Today, several museums in Poland are dedicated to his work. Even Burning Man Festival built a Beksiński cross in his honor. He once said, "I paint what comes to my mind. I don't know what it means." And maybe that's why it still haunts us, because when we see how his life played out, maybe there was something in his subconscious that knew more than he thought.
I almost want to think a demon was inside him expressing itself by the look at all this different art. There's a couple of these, like this one would probably be my favorite. Definitely interesting. If you look at the trees, red trees in the back, you got the skeleton horse. One is just straight out terrifying, looking like it should be in hell. But if you ask me, a damn demon is inside him expressing himself. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. But hey, if somebody showed you something like this, what would you say it looked like?
This is coming right over our head. And my friend here from Johnson Space Center is here with me. And it's coming right over top. What do you say, Bob?
Thank you.
Amazing, huh?
But what is it, is the question. I know a lot of people theorize stars are angels. Could that be what this is? This is allegedly the Queen of the Tartars. Tell me she doesn't remind you of Princess Leia from Star Wars. They even still got the headpiece. What if Star Wars was trying to tell us something about the old world, Tartaria ways?
Are you still looking for proof that history's a lie? Well, look no further. Okay, so what if I told you a book that was written nearly 1,000 years ago contains astronomy, medicine, geometry, and even coded maps of the heavens? This is the Fourney Abbey book, created in the early 1100s, and it completely rewrites what we think we know about the so-called Dark Ages. Okay, stay with me with this one. We're taught that between the fall of Rome and the Renaissance, Europe fell straight into ignorance, you know, that people right then had no science, no medicine, no understanding of the cosmos. But this manuscript right here, compiled by monks in Cambridgeshire, proves completely otherwise. Now, this book is literally filled with text, tables, and diagrams known as the computus, the art of reckoning time. Not just marking days on a calendar, but calculating sacred feasts, astronomical alignments, and even the cycles of nature itself. I mean, this book honestly implies that they had a knowledge beyond our belief. You know, just look closely at these charts. You'll see 4 classical elements, terra, ignis, aqua, and air, laid out in geometric precision. You'll see zodiac symbols, planetary cycles, and even something resembling sacred geometry. These monks weren't just scribbling prayers. They were encoding a system where astronomy, medicine, mathematics, and cosmology all intertwined into one diagram, you know, and Earth sits at the center with layers radiating outwards, a reflection of a geocentric worldview. And you know, in another you've got circular tables aligning letters, numbers, and celestial events, almost like an ancient encryption key, you know? Now, this is the bit that blows my brain. If manuscripts like this existed in the 1100s, then the narrative of the Dark Ages completely collapses. They didn't lose knowledge, they preserved it. They hid it in coded manuscripts, you know, disguised as religious works, whilst passing down ancient science through symbols and cycles. Why? Because controlling time means controlling power. Whoever fixes the calendar, fixes the feasts, fixes the rhythm of society itself. And whoever encodes the heavens encodes the story of creation. This wasn't just ignorance, you know, this was advanced knowledge hidden in plain sight. Knowledge of medicine disguised as pharmakeia, knowledge of the stars disguised as feast days, knowledge of the world disguised as scripture, you know. And today we're told that all of this is just medieval superstition, but when you actually look at the ancient diagrams, the geometry, the cosmology, it's very clear to me. They knew more than we're allowed to believe. I mean, the Fourney Abbey book is just one example, a 1,000-year-old reminder that history has been rewritten. What we call progress is often just rediscovery, you know? And the lie of the Dark Ages, it's proof that the real knowledge was never lost, it was only hidden. Because once you see it, you realize that history isn't what they told us, not even close. But obviously, for the sensory reasons, this was just for entertainment. I love you all, beautiful people. Don't forget to hit that follow button, and I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
One comment says, the Vatican hid thousands of those ancient books. Yeah? Another guy says, Dark Ages is when the Moors conquered those areas and brought their knowledge with them. They have inscripted their names into code. Once you wake up, you will see it.
I believe most of what we were told as fairy tales growing up holds more truth than the actual history they taught us. There is a reason, across many centuries, across many continents, our ancestors depicted the exact same creatures, from cynocephaly, blemmy, and of course unicorns, and much, much more. It is not some realm-wide hoax of the old world. It is the depictions of exactly what we saw. But it is not just the depictions that remain. First-hand sightings and even remains have been found all across this realm. Question everything, friend. I believe most of what we were...
The Romans who never escaped Heracleum. Or Heracleum, my bad. That looks more like a catacomb, if you ask me. Are they really telling us the truth about this?
This clip from Oprah would never be played today because it's actually true. Listen to this.
You say one of the things that you should do is never eat with people you don't like. Because your state of awareness will influence how your food is metabolized. There was a study done in Ohio State University where they were feeding rabbits diets that were extremely high in cholesterol. And they found to their amazement there was one group of rabbits that never got the high cholesterol levels. After a while, they found out that the technician who was feeding these rabbits, instead of just throwing the food at them, he would stroke them and pet them and cuddle them and kiss them and then feed them the same poisonous food. But now, as a result of that experience of happiness, they made chemicals inside their brain and the body that turn the cholesterol into a completely different metabolic pathway. So it's not just the food you eat, but what your awareness, what your consciousness, and your state of emotions is at the time you're eating.
You eat to ease the stress.
Well, then
it turns into something else.
Yes, it's very important. In fact, one of the things I tell people is if you're not feeling good, skip the meal at that.
So two things. The cholesterol thing, we know that we may have been lied to about cholesterol. We're past that. But this is Deepak Chopra. And this guy, I mean, look up some of his works. He definitely has an important message to share. Usually now we see with the mainstream, Oprah, Dr. Phil and whatnot, not exactly the most intellectual guests, more of like just pure entertainment, whereas this is actually like intellectual, cool information. Yes, you should be in a heightened state of elation and happiness and whatnot when you're eating. And not only that, even preparing a meal. When you're preparing a meal, you can poison the meal if you're upset, flustered, and mad and angry while you're making it. It totally changes the molecular structure. This is why for thousands of years people would pray over their food. And seemingly many people don't do that anymore. But they should. We're going to talk more about this in part 2. If you want to see that one, comment for part 2.
Well, I always pray over my food. Sometimes I'll be a little bit too hungry and I'll bite into it and I'll be like, and then I quick hit my prayer. Then I go back and eat, but it changes the molecular structure. That is interesting.
Why does Ford have all of these vehicles stored underground at Subtropolis? And why this year vehicle? Why this year vehicle? Right here. Whatever years they are. Isn't that interesting?
If this was a surplus and they put these underground to sell them in mint condition later on. Whoever has these, man, this is a hell of a car collection. But it makes you think, how did they get it underground? Who has them underground? So many questions. You guys already know what time it is. If you thought I didn't have another excellent specimen for you today, think again. All right, you guys see it. We have fluorite mineral crystal specimen. And it's giving me some, I want to hear your guys' names. What would you name this? But if I had to name this, I would call it petrified cheesecake raspberry. Because it does look like a cheesecake slice, if you ask me. And it's like octahedral raspberries on the top. Or I'm not really sure if those are octahedrals. Those are more looking like pyramid at a closer look. Like miniature translucent pink pyramids.
In this pit in Madagascar, this gentleman is about to find one of the rarest gemstones ever unearthed and cause a bidding war that would last 6 months. At first glance, this gem doesn't look like too much, but on a closer inspection, you're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, and more colors all inside one incredible crystal. You got to find the right cutter who can walk the fine tightrope between keeping this gem as large as possible while also retaining all of these exciting colors being displayed inside. With a gemstone like this, you get one shot. This is simply irreplaceable. One gemological unicorn. So the 9.5 carat raw crystal was sent to the gem city of Ratnapura to be cut into what would eventually become a 5.29 carat masterpiece valued at $35,000 per carat. We sent it to the world's most respected gem lab and they took one look at this stone and they give it the seal of approval. Natural, no heat, and listing each of the incredible colors locked inside. Let me know in the comments if you've ever seen a natural gemstone with as many colors as this world famous sapphire.
I almost feel like we have, but I could be tripping. This is an excellent specimen. Call it the rainbow stone.
There are vans driving around your city right now that can literally see through your walls and no one told you. They're called backscatter vans, and yes, they're real. These unmarked police vehicles are equipped with mobile X-ray scanners that can see through buildings, car doors, and even into your home from the street. You won't hear them, you won't know they're there, and they don't need a warrant. This isn't science fiction. The technology was originally designed for the military to detect explosives overseas. Now it's being used here on civilians with almost zero oversight. The vans fire bursts of ionizing radiation, the same kind used in TSA body scanners. But this radiation is mobile, more focused, and aimed straight through solid objects. No law requires police to inform the public. No study confirms it's safe, and there's no limit on who or what they scan. Privacy groups have warned for years this is warrantless surveillance on wheels. Your car, your home, your body, all exposed to invisible scans without your consent. And if it's already here, what's coming next? There are vans driving around your city right now.
I was gonna say, this is, how can it drive around my city and this is looks like it's in Hong Kong? But they definitely could have some type of technology like this in the States. I don't deny it. So if you see a strange van outside your property, you better run up on it and make sure they don't got no type of electronics inside or something.
Y'all listen? Let me tell you something I wish somebody told me earlier. Finding a good mother for your kids is more important than finding a good-looking woman for yourself. Beauty fade. But how she raise them babies? That lasts forever.
I hear you, OG.
Y'all listen?
Talk to him, OG. Why awakening people can't find love.
I'm going to tell you something today that will sound absolutely mad. There is a secret price that comes with awakening, and it has to do with love. Not the kind of love they write songs about, but something far more dangerous. Every truly awakened person carries a burden that makes them nearly untouchable. And what I'm about to reveal changes everything you think you know about enlightenment. What we mean when we say someone is in love. What's really happening there? When two people fall in love, they're playing a very ancient and rather elaborate game. It's a game of mutual deception, though we'd never call it that at a wedding. Each person presents to the other a carefully edited version of themselves. Not the whole catastrophe, mind you, but the highlight reel, the charming bits, the mysterious bits. And the other person, equally desperate for connection, agrees to believe in this edited version. They invest in it. They build their dreams around it. This is what we call romance. And it's absolutely necessary for the game to work. But when you awaken, and I mean truly awaken, not just have a pleasant experience in meditation, something rather catastrophic happens. Something happens to your ability to play this game. You see through your own editing process. You watch yourself trying to be charming, and you see it for what it is. A performance, a mask, a clever little dance you've been doing since you were old enough to realize that certain behaviors get approval and others get rejection. And worse still, you see through everyone else's performance too. The awakened person stands before another human being completely naked, psychologically speaking. No pretense, no carefully crafted image, no future promises of becoming someone better, someone more complete. Just this strange cosmic accident of consciousness that somehow learned to call itself by a name. And that level of transparency is absolutely terrifying to people who are still identified with their personas. You know what happens when you stop pretending? When you stop playing the game of I am this kind of person and I'm looking for that kind of person? People don't know what to do with you. They can't get a grip on you. It's like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall. You become unpin-downable. And our entire romantic structure is based on pinning people down into roles, into promises, into predictable patterns. The unawakened person is looking for someone to complete them. They're looking for their other half, as the saying goes. But the awakened soul isn't the half looking for another half. They're already whole. And two whole people meeting, now that's an entirely different proposition than two halves trying to make a whole. Most people aren't ready for that. They don't want wholeness meeting wholeness. They want need meeting need. That desperate clinging that feels like love but is really just two people afraid of their own emptiness, trying to fill the void with another person's presence. Imagine you meet someone at a party. Charming person, quite attractive. They ask you what you do, where you're going in life, what your dreams are, all the usual questions we use to build the story of who we think we are. Now, if you're awake, you realize you can't answer these questions honestly without sounding like you've lost your mind. Because the honest answer is, I'm nobody going nowhere, and the whole thing is a cosmic joke. I'm the universe pretending to be a person, asking another part of the universe pretending to be a person what they pretend to do. Try that at a cocktail party sometime and watch what happens. The person will smile politely and find someone else to talk to, someone who's still playing the game, someone who has ambitions and plans and a 5-year strategy, someone they can understand, categorize, and potentially fit into their life story. You see, people want to date a character in a novel, not the space between the words. They want someone with a story they can follow, a trajectory they can predict, a future they can imagine. The awakened person has no story. They're just here, now, being whatever is happening. The more you see through the illusion of the separate self, the less you can participate in the usual dance of relationship, because that dance requires two people who believe they're separate selves. It requires someone who can say, I need you, and mean it in that desperate, hungry way that makes for great poetry and terrible relationships. The kind of need that keeps the whole machinery of romance grinding along. That beautiful, tragic need that spawns 1,000 love songs and 1,000,000 broken hearts. It's the fuel that the entire romantic industrial complex runs on. But when you've awakened, you can't say, I need you in that way anymore. Not because you're cold or detached, but because you've seen that the I who would need and the you who would fulfill that need are both characters in a play. You've walked backstage and seen the ropes and pulleys. You can't unsee that. And you can't pretend you haven't seen it just to make someone feel comfortable. So you stand there, utterly available, completely open, but somehow impossible to possess. And possession, my friends, is what most people mistake for love. Think about the language we use. My girlfriend, my boyfriend, my wife, my husband. We speak of human beings if they were property. And when someone leaves us, we feel robbed, betrayed, as if something that belonged to us has been stolen. The awakened person cannot be owned because they don't even own themselves. How can you possess someone who has realized they don't exist as a separate, solid entity? It's like trying to capture smoke. You can see it, you can move through it, but the moment you try to grab it, there's nothing there. And this is where it gets truly interesting. The awakened person loves, oh yes, they love more deeply than you can imagine. But it's a love without hooks, a love without agenda, a love that doesn't ask anything in return because there's no separate entity there to receive anything. It's like the sun shining. The sun doesn't decide to shine on you because you've been good or withhold its light because you've been bad. It just shines. That's what it does. And the awakened person loves in this same unconditional, indiscriminate way. But you see, most people don't want that kind of love. They want the other kind, the kind with conditions, the kind that says, I love you because you make me feel complete. I love you because you validate my existence. I love you because when I'm with you, I can forget the gnawing anxiety that I might not really exist at all. That's the love that comes with strings attached, with contracts written in invisible ink, with expectations that neither party can ever quite articulate but both understand perfectly. It's a business arrangement disguised as romance. The awakened soul cannot enter into this arrangement, not because they're superior or enlightened in some holier-than-thou sense, but because they've seen through the very mechanism that makes the arrangement possible. They can't fake the neediness. They can't manufacture the anxiety that makes possession feel like security. They can't pretend that another person has the power to make them whole because they've discovered they were never broken to begin with. And so they wander through this world of lovers like a sober person at a party where everyone else is drunk. Everyone around them is caught up in the drama, the intensity, the passionate highs and crushing lows of romantic love. And they're just watching with a kind of bemused affection, like a parent watching children play a very serious game of make-believe. They can appreciate the beauty of it. They can even participate to some degree, but they can't lose themselves in it. And losing yourself is precisely what falling in love is supposed to be about. We even say it that way, don't we? I lost myself in her eyes. I was beside myself with passion. The language reveals the truth. Romantic love is about losing yourself, about abandoning the burden of being a separate individual, if only for a moment, in the arms of another. It's about merger, fusion, the temporary dissolution of boundaries, and it feels ecstatic precisely because, for a brief moment, you get a taste of what the awakened person knows all the time. That separation is an illusion, that we're all one thing looking at itself through a billion different faces. But then the moment passes and the boundaries snap back into place and you're separate again. And so you chase that feeling. You fall in love again and again, trying to recapture that moment of dissolution. You mistake. I'm going to tell you something today.
You know, when he was speaking about an awakened one, that made me think of this Proverbs. And it reads, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life." So if you ask me, it all boils down to who can find a virtuous woman and who can find a righteous man, because you're not living of this world. You're living in it. Or I could say at least trying to be righteous or trying to be virtuous. You know, everyone's on their own journey. All right, object seen during the amateur filming in Hong Kong. They definitely caught something, because you could tell that they're trying to film the festival, everyone having fun, and then he saw something in the sky. He was like, wait, what was that? And this dreidel looking UFO pops up. You know, this is before AI, so I think we got ourselves some authentic UFO footage here. And it just disappears out of nowhere. Now this is interesting. It looks like they hit it with the infrared as well. But this looks like that Tokyo UFO we were just looking at. Because if we go back, see how it has that yellow aura? You know, that yellow light about it? What's up with this? And the infrared shows it's like bright on the outside. And then the inside could be a lot colder, possibly, if it is a craft.
That's the lamp. That's the UV. That's the quartz crystal. But you're just carrying around the sun like that. which is really cool. It's a little sun in a box. And then you just expose yourself for about 3 to 10 minutes and you are supercharged, ready to go. We're missing the UV spectrum rather than the infrared spectrum. You always see like LED, infrared bulbs, you know, blah, 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 which LEDs can't even produce the color red, but that's a whole nother story. But they're always trying to sell you red. They always want to give you infrared this, and you need red, red, red. You need purple. That's what you need. You need the UV spectrum. The purple color spectrum is what's actually being missed from the body. So when you think about this, there's all this marketing on like LED infrareds, and if you get this infrared, you just blast yourself with these radio frequencies and whatever else, but really you need UV, you need the purple. You need the beautiful purple spectrum. That's what we're actually missing. And when we think about the quartz health lamp that I was just showing you, that's what that is, the purple spectrum that's coming off. The UV spectrum is the purple spectrum. And Dr. John Ott used to talk about that in Health and Light. UV spectrum, most important for the body.
I wonder, that's all we got for today's video. If you made it this far, the code word is UFO. Go ahead and drop UFO in the comments below. When you do that, that shows me you're a real one. You made it all the way through the video and you really rock with your boy. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for your support. I've been working on something huge. I just wanted to show you guys it's getting there, and just sit tight because big things are coming. I'm excited to tell you all that if you made it this far, I got a little treat for you. I've been working on the Dark Waters 9 website, and sign up is currently available for when it officially launches. So if you're interested in that, it's going to be really exciting. Be sure to check that out. I even made a little game on here you could play if you want.